Hey everyone, Tactics here with my final Season 3 Encrypted Advanced Routing video, this time covering Theater of Pain. Apologies for the delay on this one, again, just bad luck on live, but hopefully it's worth the wait. Hopefully we show you a bunch of stuff that you didn't know before and maybe can use to time some keys in the last few weeks of the season here. So just like in my previous videos, I'm going to be going through the route in MDT, linking that down below if you want it for yourself. Going through each of the pulls, how they can be adjusted for the affixes or your group comp, where you want to commit maybe defensive CDs, offensive CDs, bloodlust, things like that. And I'll walk you through a VOD of myself doing this on a high key as well. So let's hop right into the MDT. So off the top here, we are skipping past these three. We use Mind Suit. There's a bunch of things that can work. You can Shroud this, worst case. You can Warlock Gate. Note that this Bloodhorn does have True Sight, but that's fine because we are pulling him directly into this boss fight, no matter the affixes anyways. The main difference is just who you focus. So on Tyrannical weeks, you tend to focus Decia, whereas on Fortified weeks, you do focus this Bloodhorn down. After this boss fight, though, we go down and we go Zavwing first. And this is a bit of a variation pull. So, like, depending on the affix of Bolstering, for example, we pull this 3-pack solo. And if we get a good combo of Dokig and Harugia, then we would pull these two together. If you don't get that combo, then you would just pull these individually. And if it's not Bolstering, for example, you can pull this 3-pack into this guy here. Just note, if it is Nekthara, you have to kill this Arbalist first, just because of the random damage combined with his Shout AoE. You do want to make sure that this Arbalist is dead before you pull Nekthara. But if it's Dokig, you can pull this 3-pack right into Dokig. No problems at all. We do skip this pack. Obviously, if you have a DK, this pack becomes a whole lot safer because they can control that captain, and that enables you to do stuff like skip this final enforcer at the end there. So note, you can do that if you have a DK, but we don't have a DK, so we just skip this, kill this guy, whoever it is, and move on up to the boss. We do a no banner strategy on Zav. I'll talk you through that one when we get to that video. And then we go into the Necromancer wing here, pull a bunch of the Shackled Souls, about half of them with a relic, move across, pull the other half, chain that into the Guardian 2-pack. And then we come to this pull. So this pull, again, has a few variations depending on affixes and how you want to handle it. So usually you don't really want the Soulbinder up at the same time as the Guardian. However, if you have a Warlock, you'll have 2 magic dispels, so you can handle it at the same time. Specifically, this is something we do on bolstering weeks, again, because the video we're going to do is on a bolstering week. And we'll CC this Magus here and knock it away and pull these 2 back into this corner. And we'll have the double magic dispel to just dispel those debuffs that go out as soon as possible. And we'll focus this Guardian, and then we'll kill the Soulbinder as well right after the Guardian dies or around the same time. And that way none of these 3 get bolstered, and then we pull these 3 together. Now, the other way to do that pack is to actually CC the Soulbinder, and then you just pull this Portal Guardian and this Magus over onto these 2 Maguses, and that is how you could 3 kicks for the Bone Spears and AoE stops, and then you don't have the big dot damage during the AoE from the Portal Guardian, and that makes that a bit easier as well. But obviously, bolstering becomes an issue, right? Because if you do that pull on bolstering week, you triple bolster this Guardian, because these 3 have way less health because of that shield that gets purged off of them. So they just die, and we'll just bolster this Portal Guardian. So that's why we are not pulling any with the Portal Guardian on bolstering week. Moving down, pretty straightforward pull here. We actually do this pull as normal on bolstering week now. With the nerf bolster, you can pretty much just ignore it on this big guy. You get only ever 2 bolstering stacks at a time. They'll expire before you get the next 2. So it's not the end of the world here, and he just lives a little bit longer than usual in this pack, but still dies around the same time as these 2, maybe even a little bit earlier. Standard 3-pack here. There is that woe skip. I don't think that's a good tech for live. Maybe specifically to handle Spiteful, just so you have one less weird platform with Spite to deal with. But that's about it. Moving in, we got the last boss, or not last boss, the Necromancer boss. In terms of lust, sorry. So we're lusting every boss so far. So we lust the first boss, we lust Zav here, and we'd lust Necromancer boss. And then we go down here, do a big pull. Notably, we get Woe here, and we skip all the way down to here. We'll do this pack, add these guys when we can without adding this gas bag, and then we skip into this last boss room, pull these two onto the boss, and then we're just moving, and we have a snap now. So we're going to snap this 3-pack right here all the way up top onto this 3-pack, kill them, and then we do the last boss. So again, I'll walk you through that snap when we get to it, but it's pretty interesting. Now let's actually get into the video itself. There it is. 1.25 speed because it's super long. So this is just a soothe. We walk right through the side here. Tag this guy because we're bringing him in. And like I said, this is Lust. And because it's a fort week, we do focus this Bloodhorn because he is very similar, if not a little bit higher tank damage than Decia on a fort week this high. Decia is clearly more damage on a tyrannical week, so that's why you'd want to focus Decia on a tyrannical week. But mostly we're just assigned kicks to the big Searing Death cast on Sarthol. And then what we have for Passerin, he actually melees harder than these Plague Bolts hit for. Notable. So you actually don't want to interrupt him very much. As you see, we're just kind of letting him free cast. Even when he jumps out, we kind of move to him. We kick him in instantly on the very first time just because Lust is rolling, so we want him in. But outside of that, we kind of just let him cast because we'd much rather him cast Plague Bolts than actually melee, which is kind of weird, but that is how he works. Yeah, we're just finishing off this boss here. Really not too much to talk about. Any kind of CCs work to clear that stun, which is of course back in Season 3. Like here, Disorient Stuns, Knocks, all those things will work. And just generally being clustered close together makes it a lot easier to handle that. And just trying to keep these guys grouped as best as you can. Extra kicks just go into Necrotic Bolts here, while keeping those 2 kicks assigned to Searing Death because that is the most important kick in this boss fight here. We're just going to be moving downstairs though. Skip the RP. Okay, yeah. So we're going Zabwing. So we get unlucky. We get Necthara, and again, it's bolstering week. So what you would do on non-bolstering week here is kill this Arbalist and then move into this guy with the 2 conscripts. Bolstering week, we don't want to do that. That's not a good idea. So we do not do that. We instead just kill this 3-pack and then move into Necthara right after that. It's slower, of course. It's not ideal, but it is what you kind of have to do. Unfortunate, but we got a little unlucky, so it is what it is. I don't think there's too much to talk about for this guy. He just kind of does his whirlwind and his shout. Yeah, he doesn't have the blades, right? Yeah. So not really too much to talk about for this guy. Just kill him. He's annoying. The reason you can't really pull him with the other bad guys because they both have shouts. 2 shouts very bad. 2 shouts is very bad. Your casters will hate you. And they also won't be able to heal you. So yeah, that's bad. Moving downstairs to the actual next guy. And these guys take forever, right? It's a 4-way. They have a lot of health. This was pretty big in terms of losing time. Gonna have to make it up later on in the dungeon. So we have Harugia here. So you notice the range are kind of setting up in this area, and they're actually just going to use this little lip there to completely negate all the damage from that weapon. Of course, anywhere you can LOS that weapon, it will not go off. So you can use plenty of spaces down here and even up here on the door, but that's just where our ranged use it. She will tend to charge right after, so be aware of that. So just make sure you pull her back out so they can actually use this LOS spot again and again and again. But that's how we handle that. We're gonna come through and skip this middle pack in a second here. Yeah, usually we ring and have a couple of stealth so that we don't halt to Invispot. I think the ring knocks it close to us this time. But yeah, usually that's just a ring because in the direct end and beginning of the pat, it's really hard to walk around with stealth. So you just have to be careful. So that's why we usually would ring if it's in that part of the pat. But again, just unluck with the ring there, knocked it towards us a little bit. So just be careful. We're going to res him here and then go into the next mini boss. We have a little quake. That's okay. Just trying to stay away from the pat. Resing him. And yeah, this is a wreck. So the wreck is the other easy one here that you can get. I believe it's just the Just the whirlwind, and what's the other ability they get Rick has? There it is. Oh, the swift strikes with the spread. Not really too difficult to handle there. Moving up into the boss here, Zav. And again, we do a no banner strat. So right off the top here, there's two things you can do with I think we should have blasted but you have two options, right? You have the option to blast here and get him before everyone goes down, or to hold for when everyone comes back up. We opt to hold It gets a little spooky for me in particular, but I think I could have done something a little bit differently. So you see here, we still have a banner up. And the way this works is this first one is definitely the spookiest one. But basically, whenever a banner actually expires, and they do expire, it actually resets your slow debuff. And this happens to coincide with these intermissions, minus this first one. So this first intermission is actually the hardest to dodge. And we have a lock gate set up here. And you see the warlock is on this side and the priest is on this side. So only one of them will have to gate from that big AoE that covers half the room here. There it is. It's on the priest, so the priest will gate. And again, this is the hardest banner. You can see gets a little weird here. I should have shifted this at this point here. I should have cat shifted. That would have reset my slow stacks. I would have been able to avoid that Slam and probably the next Slam as well. Instead, I just have to kind of pop defensives and eat them just because I can't really get out of them in time. But you're going to see here, pretty soon, this banner is going to just completely disappear. And our slow stacks are going to be reset just in time. There it's gone. Our 5 stack is now a 1 stack. So everyone has some movement capability. It's going to start stacking up again now because this banner is still alive. But we have some movement capabilities during that intermission phase when you'd want them. We send our lust now because that's when we get it. And everyone is obviously available and up and able to DPS. It doesn't quite line up where we'd want it with CDs, but that's kind of where we have to rip it there, because otherwise, like, the boss is melting, right? So otherwise, you're not going to get an opportunity to really lust this boss. But same deal, right? We had the banner stacks just reset, and we're just building the new banners stacks up, but we have movement abilities during that phase. So that's kind of how you handle this banner, or this no banner strategy. We have the lock gate up for the two ranged that can be baiting those frontal half of the room things. I think it happens again there. Yeah, so it happens. Gate. Nice and safe. And on a fort week too, you can actually live that if you pop a major defensive. I think the priest actually lived one of them. But yeah, actually was not too difficult to do. And saves you a ton of time on this boss because you don't need to dump damage into the banners, and things like the monk and the warlock you saw there who was havocing off the banner get to use that to funnel damage into the boss. So pretty useful. We do some souls here. Nothing really to talk about. We group them up here. AoE CC. Skipping. Oh yeah, we Giga Bolster too because they come in late. Don't recommend that. Recommend only pulling 6 souls and not 8 with 2 on a very weird time delay. I think they came with the relics late for some reason. These 4 here, usually this would be 6. We'll kill these and we just go right into this guy after. Again, normally this would probably be more of a chain, but because of bolstering, we want to make sure we do not Giga Bolster that guy, so we kill these 4 and then we go into the guy. But this would probably be a little bit faster on a non-bolstering week. We have decurses for this, but you can see this still do hurt just on its own on a fort week. It does not tickle. Moving forward, though, we can get to that other pull soon. Pretty simple, straightforward. Get the kicks. So this is, again, the bolstering week variation, where you cannot pull this Guardian with any Maguses because they are just going to bolster the hell out of him. So what happens here is we get CC out. We're going to pull the Guardian and the Soulbinder in. Note the lock has his Dispel pet out, the imp, so he's able to dispel these dots. We knock that Magus further so that he for sure does not get bolstered. Pull these guys deep into here. And basically now we just have dispels for all these magic abilities, right? So usually you would have like 1 or 2 magic dots out. We currently have 0. Pretty good. Makes this much, much safer. A 4th one came out and dispelled insta. And that's the curse spell as well. And we're just trying to kill these relatively even. Focusing on the Guardian, though, because we'd much rather kill him. Because this Soulstormer, it's in combo with the dot is what's going to kill you. The dot alone usually doesn't kill you. And we just pull these 3 Maguses together. And they're going to be a bunch of basically AoE stops. And as well as a kick assigned to each of them to stop those Bone Spear casts. Random damage stuff we don't really care about. We only really care about these Bone Spears. We get kicks out. AoE stops are going out as well. Pretty straightforward. And that's, again, that's what you would usually do on a non-bolstering week, is you would just CC the Soulbinder, so you don't have to deal with those magic dots during the big AoE, and you would drag the big guy along with the 1 Magus onto these 2 Maguses and do everything here. They would die relatively quickly, and then you could pull the low health big guy back onto the Soulbinder is what you could do, and what most people usually do, but bolstering kind of prevents you from doing that, so just be careful. Next platform, this is the platform we pretty much ignore bolstering and pull as normal. You just have to care during when he is bolstered. Beware of that whirlwind ability. It ticks for a lot. All the bone spikes are going to kill you regardless of whether he's bolstered or not, so not a big deal there. But his whirlwind ticks much, much harder when he's bolstered, so just make sure you are avoiding him during that. So like, we're actually just going to focus these Maguses, kill them. Like, see that's a 1 bolster tick there on the whirlwind, and then we're just moving, not worrying about the bolstering on this guy at all. Just going straight into these next 2 Maguses when we have kicks up, and doing them as normal. And like, usually we kill this Bone Reaver around the same time as these 2. So with bolstering, he lives a little bit longer, right? He's gaining that extra health. But realistically, he dies still at a relatively okay time. It's not the end of the world. He's double bolstered again. Much lower health, though. Not really a big deal. We're just waiting for our kicks to be back up, and then we're moving in the last 2-pack here. And he dies very, very early into this 2-pack. So not a big deal at all here. Finishing off these guys, move into this 3-pack here. Again, not too much to talk about. We have a kick assigned to the Magus, kick assigned to the Soulbinder, his big cast. We just let the Dark Spear kind of free cast on the tank. Curse Dispel, Magic Dispel, lots of dispels in this pull. Then not too much space with Quaking. Things like Spiteful, like I talked about before, can be a little spooky. You can woe skip this pack as well if you really want to. I don't think that's super valuable. It's really only if you're doing this dungeon on a Spiteful week, and even then it's probably questionable. In general, you normally want to play this pack. But then we're done there. Going to move into Necromancer boss. So we're getting Lust very soon. I believe we wait until after the first set of souls go out, or the first set of CCs go out. That does give you a bit of a damage buff as well. So we wait for that until we pop a Bloodlust. As usual. And the big thing about this boss is having that Warlock. The Warlock actually makes this boss so much easier. For the same reason as before, earlier in this dungeon, the Imp Dispel. You now have 2 magic dispels, so you can just free dispel literally every single set of magic debuffs on this boss fight. It reduces the damage by a ton. It's actually nuts. And so how we coordinate that is, I believe the Warlock just insta-dispels someone, and then the Priest dispels someone right after is how we handle that. And it happens very quickly, as you can tell. Very, very quickly. We also have Diffuse available as well for the Monk, so the Monk can diffuse the debuff off as well. So it actually makes this fight from one of the higher HPS check fights previously to having the double dispel to just really quite easy, honestly. The HPS check is still there. You still take a bunch of damage, right, if you have the overlap with that soak. But it's much, much less than before. And so this guy is just a whole lot less scarier than he's been in previous seasons because of that Warlock. Nothing else too complicated here. Main thing there is just the Warlock dispel difference. And that's really it. Moving on to the big pull in the Abom wing. Let's fast forward. Here it is. Okay. So we pulled the whole room. Basically, that means you have 3 kicks assigned, 4 kicks assigned because we're getting a woe, 4 kicks assigned. And then we also have a stop assigned as well to the big guy who does the devour flesh. So we just run in, we're pulling everything, focusing woe down here to ensure that we get it. And then that is the bull there. Just, you know, watch these swirlies now because they start spawning now. Yeah. It gets a little spooky, gets a little tight because they will just chain spawn, chain spawn, chain spawn. And our focus now, because we don't want to trigger this woe buff too early. So at this point, we need to make sure that we're hard focusing into these higher HP mobs, the Butcher and the Horror, I believe. Just to make sure that they die in a timely manner so that we can still actually do the woe skip after this pull is done. Right? Because if these guys were still at like 30% health, we would be very tight on our woe skip. So make sure you're doing that whenever you actually do want to do a woe skip and there's a high health mob in the pack, just to make sure that you are focusing those high health mobs down after you actually get the woe relic killed. We have an accidental pull. There's probably a dot, I think he had on him. Pulled him out of stealth, pulled the mobs. Fine, he still has the woe buff. He'll just catch up with us. Do this pull at the bottom here. Another thing we're bolstering slows you down a little bit. Normally, I would pull these little guys here as soon as I can. And add it to this pack. But because of the pat, of how the pat was, we'd have to be adding it like around now, and that just kind of wouldn't work with bolstering. That would be very bad. Yeah, we had to have added it already there because he's coming back towards us. So instead, we just kill this all, so we don't bolster the next pack, and I just grab it afterwards. So as he's near the end of his pat, as long as he's like more than halfway, you can come up here, do some thrashes swipes, trigger all these guys jumping down, and then run all the way back up here so you don't accidentally pull that guy again. AoE these guys down. They're relatively low HP. It's not the end of the world. It's really only the Sludge Spear in this pack that you have to worry about. And then we skip to the boss room right after this. There is a Warlock gate skip that does work, and it's been a hit or miss for us. We've tested it like a couple times, so we don't really do it. That you can skip past this gas bag. Instead, I stealth through. We got invises. I think the healer's drinking right now. You can also summon people if they forget to invis, as long as your Warlock can get through. And then we just add these two into the boss fight and do boss as usual. So a big thing we found on this boss fight in particular is to reduce damage. You can actually like hard CC these leftovers. That one got broken. You can hard CC those leftovers. And it actually is a pretty significant damage reduction because, of course, they do that jump out and they'll hit relatively hard on DPS and your healer as well. So anything you can do to kind of reduce that damage rate. The ring there into, I think, normally we have a bind as well when they're in melee. Probably the next set that'll get bound. Yeah, it's on CD. He did on the previous set that got instant melted. So we have bind, shackle works sometimes, ring into trap works sometimes, para works a decent amount of time. So just anytime you can reduce your overall damage intake by CCing those guys, it's actually pretty big value. Otherwise, though, this boss isn't too different than he's been in previous seasons. You know, dodge the hooks. And that's pretty much it. Don't get murdered by this circle. It's very, very painful. But then we move on into our snap. So this is where it gets interesting. Let's move past this boss. Let's move. Okay. So here we go up. And the hunter stays here. But you're gonna see he's gonna misdirect me. I wait here. Get misdirected. So I have the misdirect. We all then go upstairs. And we go right here and just watch that misdirect timer soon because we need to wait until everyone's here and good. Good. So he's misdirected the 3-pack to me now. He's hit them. They are coming. Priest mind controls this guy. He starts getting hit. They'll basically kill this guy for free. Oh, look. Sludge Spears are coming. I'll tag these guys to make sure we're in combat. And basically we have a range kick assigned to the Ritualist and then another kick each assigned to these Sludge Spears. This is a relatively scary pack. you can definitely commit Bloodlust to this pack, and it would be worthwhile. I just have Incarn up. But it's still a little spooky because, of course, especially on bolstering week, they all insta get 1 stack of bolster because of how we handle that that Necromancer, right? He pretty much insta dies because we just don't want to have to deal with him during the actual pull because he adds a ton of damage, especially under your tank, and of course additional kicks, which you don't really want to deal with. But yeah, that's how we handle that snap. Makes this pull relatively substantial, right? It's a 6-pack now, maybe a 5-pack, right? If you're kind of that Necromancer kind of insta dies. And definitely scarier on bolstering week. He got chopped so chop is still randomly hitting people, despite the fixes. But yeah, little sketchy on bolstering week, but definitely on any week that's not bolstering, a pretty substantial time save, I would say, because you, instead of 2 pulls, you can now pull those 2 pulls together. It basically completely eliminates a pull, and it lets you make use of things like that woe skip nicely downstairs as well. Moving into more Dretha here. The main thing here is now kicking those ads is a lot more important now because they have a bunch more health. They do a bunch more damage because, of course, they're scaling with key level now. So pretty much just making sure that we're grouping these ads as best as we can. Getting them all grouped, sweeping them, right? We see them when they're in. Not many casts went off. Probably 1 or 2 went off there. Maybe none. I didn't quite see, but that's not too different, right? They still die relatively fast. It's just they have more health, more damage than before, so you need to be a little bit mindful of them. Otherwise, we're just kind of positioned near the edge of the room. You don't want to be too close to the edge, specifically in the sub 50% phase. You don't want to be too close to the edge, just because these guys do bounce like right on this spot. That's when they start bouncing. Right? It looks like they're way further back, but they will bounce you if you're like right there. It's definitely been annoying. It's definitely gotten people killed in the past. So just to be aware of that. They will bounce way closer than this looks. This deals with significant damage. That's on Fortified Tyrannical if you want to pop a personal for that 50% cast, just because it is pretty painful. But from here, you will probably want to be careful of this very first overlap. So not these guys, but the very next cast. It'll be Rift into these Defender guys, into a Reaping Scythe. Well, the ads are coming out. This is the spookiest overlap of the entire fight here. Personals, health pots, all that kind of stuff. That's where you're going to want to commit them. Also, in terms of offensive CDs, we did the 50% lust here, just because that's when our CDs were going to be back up because we popped CDs on that 6-pack before the boss. So that's when things kind of worked out for our timings. And also, again, the end part of this fight is definitely scarier than the beginning part. The beginning part's kind of just like you're on autopilot. All the spooky stuff kind of happened in this end part, so you'd rather make this much shorter. Boss dancing a little bit there. You can see like we're on the edge, but we're not too close to the edge, so we have plenty of room to avoid these guys and not be crunched up against this wall. But there we go, guys. Theater of Pain, Advanced Route explained for Encrypted. Again, sorry for the delay. The Season 4 videos will be coming out much quicker, hopefully. And I am excited for that. 4 weeks, of course, coming on August 2nd. Really excited to get into some of those older dungeons again and kind of see, maybe is anything going to change here in Shadowlands with those old dungeons? Or are we going to go back to kind of those older routes? Because I'm really excited to play around with them. Hopefully you guys are too. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more content like it. Of course, all the Season 4 videos as well. They're going to be coming out. So keep an eye out for them. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them down below or stop by my Twitch channel. I stream Mythic Prog, all my Mythic keys as well. So come stop by, say hi, ask a question. I'll do my best to answer. Otherwise, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.